Welcome, everybody, to the first show of 2017 with a Psychic Affair. Now, we're kicking it off today with Sacred Soul readings, my New Tech Sacred Souls Oracle. And it's not published yet, so don't be asking where you can find it, but do keep your eyes open, because when it does get published, and that's a when, not an if, I'm hoping a couple of bricks and mortar publishing sites will pick it up. If not, I will publish it anyway. And so we're going to kick off the year with that. We're starting with layout for the room. This is for today and probably the next week or so. We're looking at this kind of energy. So it applies to anybody or everybody. How are you, Mags? Great to see you in-house, especially since I'm all alone. But we fire away anyway. So what we're looking at now as we go ahead into our next couple of weeks. Oh, I've missed you too. Thank you for that. You know, I've been having a marvelous time. It's hot, it's sunny, it's bright, it's perfect. Your cards, exactly. So we've got the woman card, we've got the spirit card, and we've got the card that suggests, you know, we might be looking at the brighter side of life right now. But it's an okay idea. We don't always have to be seeing the top end of the market. Sometimes, though, we do need to recognize we may be looking in the wrong direction. So these three cards are working together. They're not individual cards per se, because I've drawn three. And so this is a three-card layout. We can do what we like with this. So does that look all right to you, Mags? I should ask, because I can't see it. I've had to narrow my view right down for the show so that I can look properly at it looks good. Excellent. That's what we're after. So I'll be doing my card readings this way from now on. I've got my decks loaded in here. So fun stuff. And I've been doing them on Skype. And if it works for the show, I just think it's nice and interactive, isn't it? Now, I could pop myself into the corner of there, but it was a little bit more hassle and a little bit less, you know, fun. So here we go. And I'm wet, by the way, because I've just raced back from the beach to do the show. So the woman card suggests also that we could spend a bit of time thinking about our communications focused on family right now in July and the next period of time. But we sometimes turn our back on the important things. And as a feminine energy, this applies to men and women. So it could be a time where we have to remind ourselves of what's more important and not get caught up in the busyness, especially if you've had a nice holiday period. Sometimes we enjoy that so much. When we go back to a regular lifestyle, we're almost a little resentful and we just get a little grumpy and we get so focused on what we've got to do. I've seen people do this a lot, actually, when they take time off work and they go back to work and they go, there's so much work to do and I've got to keep my focus. The thing is that you work 8 hours a day. You can only do what you can do. Taking it home, bring it into your mind, bring it into your life, not letting yourself enjoy your downtime. The holiday should be a reminder of actually what that balance feels like. When you maintain that balance, life is great. Now, we need to watch a defensive quality with this. That is to say, if somebody says to you, you're working too hard, or if somebody says you're not working hard enough, we may employ that feeling of being a bit waspish, shall I say, and not being very clear on where we are at with things. So be open to listening, open to being involved still, I guess, is what I'm looking for with others, with other people, with their needs, but as well as meeting your own. The Tanzanite is changeable, which is the blue that you can see through the window, and she's got her back turned to it because we can use it as and when we will, which is we can shine it in the light in different ways and get different responses from that. And that's like an attitude to me, how our attitude, where our attitude sits determines exactly how good or bad something's going to be, really. And that's the truth of it. Something quite serious and quite difficult with a good attitude can actually be a fairly mild event. And as soon as we've got a bad attitude, something fairly light and not so important can become blown out of all proportion or can become a major life event, changing everything that goes after it. The middle card is the spirit card. We've got Cavanicite as this cross. There's this little blue cross in here. The Cavanicite is what it's made of. And it's an interesting thing because it shows, and it's attracting my attention in this little drawer, it shows that there's this blending between the physical world and the spiritual world. That it's a time right now where you can affect your physical world with spiritual intention, with spiritual focus. Now, we can't do that all the time. I know there are plenty of people telling you all you got to do is think and it manifests. I can probably report millions of people who have tried it, continue trying it, want to keep trying it, come to me all the time and say, I'm going to try that, and I don't care if you say you can't do it just like that, I'm going to do it. They ignore that the people that have a lot usually work for what they've got, usually. If they don't, the person before them did, their partner did, their parents did. Whichever way you want to go there is an action required, and that is LOA. The law of attraction provides an opportunity that you take advantage of or not. That's entirely up to you. So Cavanicite brings that energy and says, you know what? Right now, your spiritual world and your spiritual desires and your inner inner wants, desires, focus, those things that you want for yourself, that quite often become useless resolutions, right? You can actually manifest in the real world. You can bring that forward. You could have a vision that shows you where things are going to go. You could have a dream that's going to give you an idea of the best way to go. You can tune in, listen to that radio. Now, this radio is interesting. When I've put this in these cards, this radio has Gaia actually written on the front, listening to the earth elements, the earth energy, the earth spirits, whatever you believe in that respect. It's a very earthy energy. So any spiritual guidance can take you in the direction that is really physical. You know, because quite often spiritual guidance, especially when you're talking to guides, people like me even, you're talking to spiritual entity, whatever, you're having a vision. Very often they're abstract, and you go and live your life, and then after the fact go, oh, that's what that meant. So this is suggesting too that you can use what you're tuned into. You can trust it. You can take it from the moment, that if you get an instinct or an intuition, or if the earth gives you a message, you see the bird, you see the feather, whatever is the message for you. If something flashes up, success keeps coming into your face, into your mind's eye, then of course you're in a position to use that information and get what you want from it. So it's a very nice card, especially in line with the feminine intuition and the feminine card. Those two things go together. And remember that we don't need to block our own intuition, our own trusting, our own area of this. So we've got the nice mix of air and water there. Now we've also got the fire card, which puts a lot of energy into something. It's a good time to build bridges. We've got the kyanite fan in here, you know, and we've got two fans. So fans are defenses. Think about that a little bit. If somebody wants to say sorry to you, defensiveness will refuse that apology, will push it away from you. Whereas being open to them and accepting that can create and develop or build on a relationship. It can deepen it. It can make it better than it was. We've got this image here that stands out for me of the sheriff's badge right in front of the man with an umbrella. He can't see the sun. You know, if we're so set in our focus on the things that we don't like, it's easy to miss the things that are great, the good things, the things that you want to be noticed for, the things that you want to notice, the things that you could enjoy. You can pull them down a little bit. There's a little bit of a luck element in here too. The cards will fall where they are, so don't fight it. Try and work the best way through it. Bring in that spiritual intuition, bring in that spiritual message, and bring in that feminine understanding of prioritizing the good things. Notice the balance in life and where it isn't. And where things go wrong, I can guarantee you there is an imbalance, whether that imbalance is focus, where the money is spent, where the time and energy is spent. We can have too much focus on our kids, too much focus on leisure, too much focus on work, too much focus on a single aspect of our life, and lose balance because of it. Pulling things back to balance once they've shifted out is actually quite a challenge. So we come back to this Kavana site, and here is the cross, which implies balance. You can have a bit of everything, and you can pull it all together, and you can feel satisfied about that. It's a pivotal card here. Whether you hear it from angels, whatever your guidance is, whether it's a past life thing, it does not matter. So you find yourself in a position where you can gain rather than be putting stuff out there. Now, I can only imagine that, you know, Mags, that you would like a reading, right? Because that's what we're here to do. That's what we're going to do. I've been gone a wee while, so everybody has to get used to the fact that I am back. So we'll do a 3-card draw just like that. Actually, I will shuffle first. Sorry. We will shuffle first. We must shuffle the deck. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Look at us go. Whee! A quick look. So here we go. We will do that. There we go. Out here. Out here. And we'll leave that last one because I accidentally hit that before the shuffle and it stayed there. Out here. Okay. Now for you personally, and again we're speaking over the next few weeks, maybe to the end of January, I guess, we have got the thing that stands out most for me here is we've got the spark between the planet Sedona and the Earth. So expect some shattering, earth-shattering, major information, stuff that, wow, it's bang. Now, that doesn't mean bad, but if it isn't great, it's going to be a very noticeable not great. It's the sort of thing that hits very quickly. It's a spark of life. It engenders something else. So this is the catalyst card. The catalyst card says something happens, a piece of information comes to you, whichever way that might be, that changes everything after it. Now, that can be one area of a life, because it can be one area of life, it can be your whole life. It doesn't necessarily mean everything in your life changes. But one thing that you wanted or thought you wanted could suddenly be of no interest to you. Something you were hoping for, suddenly you find that's not going to happen. Or something you didn't know about comes to light and it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Now, Sedna an interesting planet because it's never been integrated into astrology. It's been discovered in 2003. There's been plenty of time. It's in our solar system, and our astrologers are just too lazy to work it. So this is an interesting thing, and the reason it's in this card, it says, because it's a brand new energy, because it's a catalyst energy, what you do with it, how you use it, where you go from it is entirely blank canvas. It's entirely up to you. You can create the whole thing. We're not talking about recreate. You can create something whole and new and complete and different from that moment forward. So it's a real flashy kind of energy. I really like it, and I'm drawn to that for you. I've got to the purple flame energy that I'm picking up through here, that I can see through here. That's more than the blue flame. Now, the purple flame is also about wanting transformation, inner transformation. It's seeking to get rid of the things that don't serve you, that hold you back, that are not really letting you do or be what you would like to be. And we've got the karma card in the middle. Now, karma, slap, we've got it there. So we need to think a little bit about that. Now, I'm drawn to the cock. Pardon the pun. For everybody that can't see, it's a rooster, by the way. But it's a cocky rooster, right? Look at it. I'm drawn to that. Now, that's about being the early bird gets the worm. If you don't want to if you're used to dragging your heels in a particular area or analyzing it to death, this suggests that you'll get the same old thing, which is karma, the same old thing, or you won't get things working out for you if you're not quick, if you're not early on it. Get ahead of the game, stay ahead of the game, and things will be good. I've got it full ahead with this. Forget the dog that's drawing you back. Forget the slow route, which is the horse. Forget the shiny bright lights, which is the playground or the sail, the things that look too good to be true. This is flashy energy. It'll look great, and if you've got Sedna there and you've got this flash of energy, the catalyst, I would say it's an opportunity for you to do something completely different. It may be something that's been in the back of your mind. It may be something that you're playing around with, but this is be cocksure of yourself. Get up, yell it to the world. That's what cockadoodle-doos do. Yell it to the world. I'm here, I'm arrived, I'm doing it, and you'll find that things go very, very well. It's a good karma situation for you. There is a snakes and ladders in here as well, and the snakes and ladders says that it doesn't matter if you've got a good idea. Sometimes it's going to be hard work, or it's going to go backwards, or you're going to meet something in the future that you didn't plan for, weren't expecting. That being the case, just treat it like a part of life. Now, I'm drawn to the lower half of this card, which is the maze. So it could be that you need to navigate carefully the way you go, but that doesn't mean you have to do it slowly. Bearing in mind that cock-a-doodle-doo sitting right there, that rooster, I would suggest that you navigate your path, be efficient with it, treat it like Google Maps. I've got to go here, 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 and here, and then be prepared to sort of shore up any breaches or take any shortcuts, or if necessary, turn it around and move on a different track. But treat it like a labyrinth where you don't necessarily know what's around the corner, and that's okay. Got it? Got it, Missy? And that's okay. I've got, from the whole sequence of these, I'm saying that you're going to have a momentous event or a momentous happening and change, and it's important for you to push through with that and not become suddenly scared or suddenly cautious and hold back, because if you hold back, you could miss the major opportunities and find yourself sliding down into an area that's quite murky and hard to get out of. But the important thing that I got out of this for you was really that there's this ladder that nobody ever sees in this picture. And it's not this long one, it's this little wee short one, or it could be the long one, whichever. But this ladder's there, so you're always going in the right direction as long as you keep going and allow anything that seems to be a setback to be not so much the word a life lesson or a learning curve, but it's a part of the process. The part of the process is something new comes along, we give it a go, and then we find other problems associated with it. That's not a negative. If you think that you've got a pure idea and it's a great thing to send forward, your biggest problem is always going to be yourself and second-guessing that and thinking if it was such a great idea, everybody would want it now. And so I'm saying to you, not necessarily. Everybody will want it if you market it correctly. That's the world we live in. We're marketing to people from a distance. We're putting ourselves out there. And even if we're doing it up close and personal, any account will tell you there's usually 7 years from day one to day success. Usually it's a lot faster to failure because people quit and give up before they get where they're going. So it's a really interesting thing. Do you want to throw a name out there for a card draw? If you do, we will do that. We will throw those names out. We're going to possibly run a fairly short show today. Oh, actually not so bad. We might run it for half an hour. That'll be a nice little warm in for me, won't it, after such a big break? And I raced home down the beach, and I honestly was thinking, oh, back to that. So it's nice not to have a lot of pressure on it. Think of a name, throw it at me, and we'll do that. Otherwise, we're finishing. That's how we're going. Gather my cards. You can see my little instructions there. I'll still look for that. Got it? Gather cards. And so we say his name, boom, ba boom. I've got to shuffle the cards. Do you like this? I really love it. I really love it. I just hope that everybody else will enjoy it. I just love the fact that I can do the shuffle live, you know. I don't have to do it out the background and then pull it forward. It's natural, if that makes any sense. Here we go. Beautiful. We've got wounds. We've got the magician. The mage, actually. I haven't called her the magician. Wow, he's got some pretty serious cards going on here. So with the alchemist, he's going to be the master. That's which one? The alchemist, mage, or wounds? The mage, I suppose. The redhead? Yeah. She's the mage. I've called her mage because although there is a magician, a mage has a little bit more going on there. They deep down have a lot more going on than what we modernly think of a magician as having. And I wanted to move away from the idea that a magician is deceptive, because if a magician isn't deceptive, a magician does things in a way that it's not clear how it's done, which is not the same thing. Not that they are trying to fool you, but the idea of fooling you is for your pleasure, right? It's for your pleasure. It's not for their gain as such. And the better they do that, the more fun you have. It's an interesting energy. So the mage, because she's a little bit darker and she's got a little bit of a threat in her, you know, she's looking at, she's saying, come on then, let's see what you got. But the alchemy card for Craig is very simple for me. I've got Metatron's cube, and the Metatron's cube is drawing me really strongly. The Metatron's cube is the foundation block. So the next step for Craig will be making sure that his foundations are all in place properly and appropriately. All of life, all of everything is constructed from this Metatron's cube or sacred geometry. And so when we start thinking about that, if I want to build a house, if it's not right in the foundations, the house is likely to fall over or something will go wrong when it's tested. It may look okay to start with. So there's no cutting corners, in other words. So he's at a period of time over the next few weeks, if he thinks of doing something that he might want to cut corners for, it's not a good time for him to do that. He needs to check that the foundations are right and structured. And if he's choosing to advance something, he needs to make sure all his bits are in place. So he needs to plan carefully, put everything in place, and then the magic will happen. So, well, there you go. It's a perfect he card then, isn't it? But then we've got the mage in the middle here, and the mage suggests that, you know, you might need to double check, or you might need to look at things because there's the unexpected in there. Now, it's not always negative, it's not always positive, but what I'm picking up here is the daisies in the background. And the daisies always work like things look separate and they look like they're not going to come together, but you can create a daisy chain very simply with no tools really. So the daisy chain is brightness, clear skies. So things may look like they're not going to work out very well on a project or something in particular, and then it just sort of comes together because he's put his foundations in place. He suddenly sees the link, which is putting like a daisy chain, if you like. And then once he puts them together, he can move forward, and it's not a real issue for him. But it's an interesting issue because, or not an issue, sorry, it's an interesting energy because we have got that energy of him not really knowing till the last minute that it's all going to come together. So he may stress. You may be upset about that a little bit, or you may worry about that. Now, we've got the wounds card, and with the wounds card, I am seeing the spider actually is attracting my attention. Now, the spider here is while the spider is scary for so many people, the spider here is actually weaving a web of repair. And the spider is about the things that we fear. So maybe, too, he's going to be visited by his fears. He may feel a bit more insecure about things for the next wee while. And then it's up to him to overcome that. It's up to him to look at his fears and decide whether he's being silly or whether he needs to not be as worried about things or not as stressed about things, whatever it is. You know, it could be a deadline. It could be something going a bit wrong. And it could all, this whole cards could be one particular scenario for one particular moment. Now, as we look at that moment, we can say, you know, at the end of the day, his fears aren't necessarily going to be met, although he's going to need to do something about them. He's going to need to face them. So if he's, for example, concerned that things aren't going to work out very well, it's time then for him to go back to bases and sort out how he can make that happen. If it's always worked out in the end and he's always stressed about it in the past, now it's time perhaps for him to start dealing with that fear, that insecurity that makes him think, you know, that everything's going to go wrong, in which case he may get overly stressed and difficult to be around. Because that's what happens, you know, when people are stressed, they are not visiting the best side of themselves for a while. and then it becomes a bit stressful in the home. And then if he can move past that, if he can find a solution, or if he can work his way through that, then of course everything sort of comes into line. And the next time he's faced with that same situation, oh, this is all the time? Bugger. Well, these cards are saying he's got an opportunity to face those fears, to face it and deal with it. It doesn't matter if it's one thing at a time. One thing at a time is just fine. But he needs to do that so that he's not revisiting it and cycling these periods of time all the time. So something to look at and something to think about. I think I'm also looking at the fact that even if he can't see it yet, there is a solution, whether it's for his health or whether it's for his job, whichever way he's going. It's a solution that can be found even if he can't see it immediately. And that's what the Magi is all about. Things are not necessarily obvious. You may have to dig deep, may have to look a little bit harder at yourself, your abilities, what you can do, but you may also need to look beyond what you know and look at something a little bit differently. So it's kind of a curious little bunch of stuff going on there, which I really, really, really like for him, because it says, we start with the alchemist, he's the master of all of this, so he can make it as sweet for himself or as stressful for himself as he likes. And once his foundations are in place, as long as that's correct, everything tends to work out. So it's about not necessarily expecting the foundation to support a vision exactly, because as you start to build it, things become apparent and you may need to make adjustments. But adjustments are just adjustments. And again, like your cards, it was just a part of the process. So that's what we've got going there. Is there anybody else you'd like me to draw for? It's all about you today. We can choose anybody. We can do anything. And if not, we can also call it quits. I don't mind either way. Blah, blah, blah. I will shuffle the deck just in case she's going to come out with something. Shuffle. Devon. And we're on. Oh, he's got that too. Oh, look at us go. All right. So we've got the listen card. Listen, Devon. Listening card. We've got strategies. And strategies aren't about foundations. They are about planning. And we've got the Magi again. Now, the strategies is a central part of everything. I think things are going to go a bit aside for him, actually, because we've got Jupiter, and I've got these owl eyes and behind that energy, and I want him to really, he'll need to really think his way through something he does that he hasn't thought through, if that makes sense. So he's not going to think something through, and it's going to blow up in his face a little bit, or it's going to get awkward, and then he's going to have to plan the next steps for himself. Not by you or his dad or his teacher or his mate, but by himself. So it's a really interesting energy. He sets something in motion, and then he has to work his way out of it. Now, for that, he needs to use wisdom. That's the owl. That means he may get an idea or he may need to ask for advice, but he's going to have to do it for himself. So it's a real interesting energy there. I don't see it as being it feels like, it does actually, honestly, I have to say now, it feels like a learning curve because he's a young fella. But we've got listen in here, and those two together suggest, and you know what, I can't pick which bit. I see the trumpet here, I see this over here, I see the friends over here. So my thought is that he's going to get a lot of advice, and a certain amount of that's probably parental or friends, etc. But the advice is something he does need to listen to. He needs to take it on board and then plan a strategy out of that works for him. And because I couldn't choose which to listen to, I would suggest that he's not sure which is the best advice, or he doesn't want to listen to any of it. I'm not quite seeing which one, but because he's not really clear on which is the best advice, it suggests he's getting different advice from different circles. And so he has to, in the end, decide for himself. He needs to follow advice that's good. He needs to work out what is good advice, but good advice for him, not good advice in general, because we've all got different abilities. Now, when I get to the match for him, I've really got almost a deer energy, daring, just, oh, look, just try that and you're going to get some, is what it feels like. So I would suggest he's got a fear in that it doesn't matter what he chooses. It feels like he's going to, in his mind, in his heart, and his soul, he's going to feel like no choice he makes is going to be a good one. So whatever plan he takes, somebody's going to be upset at him. Somebody's not going to be happy. So there's no pleasing everybody here, and I can see that as quite a quandary for a certain age group. But what I'm drawn to for the Magi is the red here. He may need to watch his temper a little bit. He may need to think very quickly. He may need to use intense focus, all of those things. So it may be that he gets quite impatient with people through this period. It doesn't happen in a flash. It's not a 5-minute wonder thing. It looks like it's a couple of weeks worth of energy build up, getting to the top and then going down the other side. Now the Harlequin energy is calling me to at the top right-hand corner, and that suggests too that there is a methodology here. There's a strategy, which we've got the strategy card, but there is a placing one thing next to the other will work out for him. That means if he just does one step at a time, he'll work his way through it. It's a semi-transparent or opaque energy, so he won't see whether it's worked or not worked or whether it was right to the end. So he's going to struggle all the way till it's over, and then it's going to be, I'm glad that's behind me because that was terrible. So a decision he makes about his future or about the next step in his future is going to create a little bit of an issue for him, and he's going to have to work his way through that. So there we go. For his age group, I see that as learning. And I suppose the best thing here is how he chooses to deal with it, how he chooses to get through that will always be the deciding factor, won't it, as to whether he's growing from that, or at the very least, it'll give him I don't want to close the deck. It'll give him an opportunity I want to shuffle the deck. It'll give him an opportunity he's been a lot of that as of late. Oh, wow. So there you go. So expect more. He's not out of the woods yet because I felt like it going on a bit. So there you go. Oh, great. Yes, all mothers love that. So now I guess we've got a wee girl, right? Because that would be mean not to go there. Yep. And we shuffled. Yep, Sharon, I got a name. There's the feminine energy. And another one. Get a hook on that. Ooh, that's nice. They're all lovely, aren't they? So it's interesting because he's got a card in line with his dad and she's got a card in line with you. So that's where you start seeing commonality in family, and that's why I love the readings for families too. When you do a reading for a family, you start to look at all of these different things going on. So with her feminine energy, what I've caught around her, in actual fact, it comes more around to the bulrushes. There they are. I'm trying to find them at the little screen. The bulrushes in the background have been drawing my attention. And as soon as I'm thinking them, she's got the ability, or will use the ability, to make things up, not make things up as an imagination, to make up with fights, after fights or disagreements, be the mediator, that kind of energy. She's the one that will extend the olive branch, the one that will say, come on, everything's okay to one of the parties. So I'd say there's a few little wars going to go on around her, a few battles. But that's an energy she's going to use a lot over the next wee while. Now with her too, I've also got that energy of the growing pickle here, the silver fern. So the silver fern is, as it's unraveling, it reveals itself. So you're going to see her blossoming a little bit. You're going to see her starting to be more her rather than a product, and this isn't an insult to anybody, but rather than a product of her schooling, her parenting, or expectation, she's going to start to say no more. She's going to start to say, well, actually, I'd rather do this, or I'd like to try that. And you're going to notice she's going to dig her heels in a little bit with that. And it's a very family energy, but it's also a very much an energy that says she's starting to know what she likes, what she enjoys, and what she doesn't, but she's getting confident enough to be able to say, well, I don't really want to do that. So her friends will notice it, her family will notice it. I'm not so much sure that she'll take it to a teacher just yet, but she's very much going to be casting her eye in the directions that feel really nice to her. And she's going to want to drop a few things. She's going to want to change a few things, but all with an eye of creating something that she wants to experience. And I think that's healthy. There's definitely nothing unhealthy in that. This card is the Serenity card. And actually, I'm drawn to the card, the candle for her. And the candle suggests to me that she's going to try maybe too much, or she's going to overindulge in a number of different things and then find that she gets a little bit exhausted or runs out of a bit of a time, which may motivate the card of being more selective and going forward. So in other words, she may be trying to please people and saying yes to things when really she needs to focus on the things that are important to her. I've got the waterfall for her as well, and so that means that she's not going to understand her emotions a bit of the time, but I do expect her to be a bit more emotional, and it's very much a falling energy, so she'll just suddenly feel emotional and not be clear as to why. So when she doesn't know or says she doesn't know, she really won't know. So it'll be just a pat on the back. Is there something we can do? What would you like to do, or do you want to be left alone? Find the best thing that sort of suits her. But it's not a super problematic. It really feels like her learning to understand herself a little bit better, because we have to go through it to know it, if that makes any sense. She's already getting that way. Do I get to say again, expect more of that? Expect more, and possibly more intense. But I do think these two are rolled together, that she needs to find, because this is a serenity card, so her way to serenity is perhaps not overdoing things, not trying to please everybody to follow, and then she'll feel calmer and she'll be more happy. Because she's traditionally happy to go along, then maybe those around her aren't aware that for her she's not getting that space she needs to just feel calm and at peace, in which case she will get more emotional and more intense with her emotions. So it's an interesting combo there. I do see the two working together, that she will be less emotional as she starts taking up that energy of sorting out what she really wants to do and giving herself the space where she's not really having to do anything for anybody, I guess. So there's a little bit of that. That is to say, she's doing it for herself, by the way. We've got the snakes and ladders again, but I'm actually drawn to the horoscope energy and the gateway to the cosmic blah blahs, the cosmic energy, the Mayan gateway. It's quite interesting, those two. So I think that she's going to be on a rotation. I'd look at her sun sign, because I don't know it. That's something I would do for you. And I would see when she is going to be, I'm looking 1, 2, 3, her third house. You can do that online now. That's why I put this in there. In her third house, I'm looking at what's in her third house, right? I get what you're saying there, but I'm saying this is what I want you to do. So I'm looking at her third house here, right, regardless of the fact that she's Taurian. And if you go to Taurus with her birthday, put the information in, and then you look at the houses, which you can do free online. Don't bother about emails and stuff. Then you look at the house and see what's in her third house. I think that is going to be a really big energy for it. You'll know what month, what is in her third house. You'll see it. And her third house is blah, blah, and you'll see what month that is for her, what the strong energies are. And I've got that right paired in with that cosmos gateway thing. Usually what you're going to be talking about with that is dreams, big dreams for her. You're going to be talking about maybe sensing things, getting messages, I don't know, a lot of that kind of stuff going on for her through that one period of time. With that too, she's not going to know necessarily what to do with that, or what it means, or how it feels, or what it is. But because this is the Snakes and Ladders card, it is a game of life card. It is a part of her process, part of her growth. It's natural for her, certainly nothing to worry about. But the important thing is I've put that at the end of the ladder. Now it can be a slippery slope up to it or a slippery slope down from it. So it's something that people sometimes shy away from. It's sometimes people embrace. When it's a young person, if they embrace it, then it just becomes second skin. They don't even need to think about it anymore. That's what my daughter would do. She'd have a major dream and she'd just walk loop-de-loop straight to me in the morning when she'd wake up, and she'd just go, I had a dream last night, Mum. And she would tell me the dream. And these were like amazing. I remember one night she came in, one morning. My mum died when she was probably 3 years old. And she came in one morning and she said to me, I was talking to Nana all night. And I said, what, Dad's mum? And she said, no, Nana, your mum. And she said, and she wouldn't let me go to sleep. I had to tell her I got to sleep, Nana, which was hilarious. But, you know, I was just like, that's awesome. Did you sort anything out? What did you do? And she just says, oh, no, we just chatted. You know, and it was like the naturalest thing in the world for her. And I've never built it up, never taken it down, never tried to make it my thing, you know. So with that, she's very natural today. She's not searching it out. She's just very comfortable. If she has a dream, it's always dreams for her. She has an intuition. She just trusts it and goes with it, which is a very nice, pleasant way to be. So that's what I'm picking up there, that it's a development of part of that process, feminine intuition, if you want to call it that, maybe even getting interested in astrology or that side of it, or actively having a dream or getting messages that she wants to clarify. Don't doubt for a second that she'll want to talk to you about that. But I've got that third house energy for her. So whatever that is, go find it out. It's not a Taurus thing. It's a Taurus born at this hour and that year thing, if you follow. And if you'll have the time of birth, so that shouldn't be an issue. So serenity is the pivot here for her, for you and everybody around her. The more she's able to find her peaceful place, her serene place, and how she finds that, whether it's colouring it in, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going to a room and having a quiet spell, whether it's just shutting the world out for a minute, the more she can find that, the happier she will be in herself over the next wee while. So there's a time where she would have been happier being busier. This isn't about that. She wants to focus more steadily on things. But I've really got that energy of her with the feminine woman card, that energy of her really wanting to please herself more and being quite strong in what it is, what it means. And that's a difficult time, because then you may have to have a little battle, or you may have to tell somebody no. And it's hard for a kid to do that, whether it's a trainer at school, a teacher at school, or whatever, a friend. It's a real challenging thing to do for anybody, and young kids really struggle with it. So there we go. It's all about you, baby. Weren't you glad you came? I would have had to do general. So we're really happy that we ran that. Now, we've ran our show for, a reasonable length of time, so I feel like I've worked hard enough today. Thank you so much. I've missed you too. You won't see me much on Facebook as time goes forward. There's good reasons for that, which are all about not wanting to work all the time. But I will show up sooner or later, but certainly not before February. Now, for everybody listening to the show or checking it out in the archive, we are having our last audience with Kathleen. We had people pay post-show last time, actually during the show. And so because of that, we decided we would run an extra show. We've dated it for February the 1st. It'll be 8 to 10 p.m. These shows, we've worked out we can only take 5 people, but we do have a couple of spots left. They're $20 per person. You get an energy totem picture, which you get to print out, keep, take away, whatever. It's entirely up to you. Now, I do those for $40. That's it. Never cheaper than that. You're getting an e-crystal bag from Kathleen, mediumship from Kathleen, both of which she does for a minimum of $40 normally. Every single person that buys a ticket will be having one of each of those readings. So there's 5 different things. Then I will be pulling out my cards. I'll be pulling out my oracle cards. I will also, Kathleen will be pulling out her tarot cards, and we will be finishing the show up with readings. And of course, I'll be doing aura readings in amongst all of that. So between us, we are giving every person 5 readings, $20 each. Great deal. We are not putting the price up at this stage because this is going to be the last of this, but we probably will do less or put the price up next time, which will be next year or the end of this year, whichever way we go. Do join in. It's a great experience. It's a very special experience. Kathleen is brilliant at what she does. That's Kathleen Moore, Kathleen Moore psychicmedium.com, and I'm dorothy-holder.com. For all those that don't know it yet, I have had this big switch around with my website. The website is up and running. It's not complete, but you can go along there and buy services. You can read articles. You can look at videos. And over the next few weeks, I'll be intensely paying attention to that. But with the beautiful weather we've got, it's really hard to knuckle me down, really hard to knuckle me down right now, because at this time of the day, it's getting really hot, and all I want to do is go get wet somewhere, fish, do something, anything outside. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, everybody. And on Spreaker, Happy New Year, everybody. It's been a wonderful time. And I'm now logging out, blah, 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 blah. No show next week. Psychic Affair the week after, and Audience with Kathleen and Dorothy is the 1st of February, and then it's back to weekly shows. So thank you very much for coming, everybody. And remember this week, don't be a part of your own problem. Ciao for now.